The sound of shattering glass jolted me from my reverie. I rushed to the kitchen, heart pounding, to find Ethan standing over a mess of broken dishes, his face a mask of frustration. "Amelia, where did you put the good china?" he demanded, not even bothering to look up at me. I sighed, carefully stepping around the shards. "It's in the cabinet above the fridge, where it's always been." "What's going on, Ethan?" He ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair, exasperation evident in every movement. "My parents are coming over for dinner tonight. I thought I told you." "No, you didn't," I replied, trying to keep the irritation out of my voice. "When did you decide this?" "This morning. I figured you'd be home to handle everything." I bit my tongue, resisting the urge to remind him that I had a life and responsibilities outside of being his personal chef and maid. Instead, I grabbed the broom and dustpan, focusing on cleaning up the mess. "What time are they coming?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. 7, Ethan replied, already walking out of the kitchen. "Make sure everything's perfect. You know how my mother is." I did know. Margaret, my mother-in-law, had a keen eye for imperfection and an even keener tongue for pointing it out. As I swept up the broken dishes, I couldn't help but wonder when my life had become a series of accommodations for Ethan and his family. The doorbell rang just as I was putting the finishing touches on dinner. Ethan answered it, his voice booming with false cheer as he greeted his parents. I plastered on a smile and went to join them. "Amelia, dear," Margaret said, air-kissing my cheek. "You look comfortable." I glanced down at my simple blouse and slacks, suddenly feeling underdressed in my own home. "It's good to see you, Margaret. Robert, how are you?" Ethan's father nodded, already making his way to the living room. Fine. Is dinner ready?" "We're famished." As we sat down to eat, the conversation flowed around me like a river around a stone. Ethan and his parents discussed their upcoming cruise, their country club memberships, their investments. I picked at my food, feeling increasingly invisible. "So, Amelia," Margaret said suddenly, fixing me with her sharp gaze, "when are you two going to give us some grandchildren? You're not getting any younger, you know." I felt my cheeks flush. "We're still discussing it," I managed to say, avoiding Ethan's eyes. "Well, don't wait too long," Margaret continued. "You don't want to miss your chance." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of polite smiles and clenched teeth. As I cleared the table, I overheard Ethan and his father talking in low voices. "Beach house would be perfect," Robert was saying. "Your mother's always wanted a place by the sea." "I know, Dad," Ethan replied. "I'm working on it. It'll be a surprise for their anniversary." I froze, nearly dropping the plates I was carrying. A beach house? When had Ethan decided this? And more importantly, why hadn't he discussed it with me? Later that night, as we got ready for bed, I decided to broach the subject. "Ethan, I couldn't help overhearing. Are you planning to buy your parents a beach house?" He looked at me, surprise flickering across his face before being replaced by a neutral expression. "It's just an idea we've been tossing around. Nothing set in stone." "But shouldn't we discuss something like that? It's a big decision and—" "Amelia," he cut me off, his tone sharp. "It's my money. I'll decide how to spend it." As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in our relationship. The Ethan I thought I knew would never have made such a significant decision without consulting me. Who was this man lying beside me, and what other secrets was he keeping? Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would test the very foundations of our marriage and change my life forever. The next morning I woke to an empty bed and the sound of Ethan's voice drifting from his home office. Curious, I crept closer to the door, my heart sinking as I caught snippets of his conversation. "Yes, Dad. I've already started the paperwork," Ethan was saying. "The beach house will be ready in time for your anniversary. No, Amelia doesn't know the details yet. I'll handle it." I stumbled back, my mind reeling. Not only had Ethan decided to buy his parents a beach house without consulting me, but he was actively hiding it from me. The betrayal stung like a physical blow. When Ethan emerged from his office, I was waiting in the kitchen, my hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had long since gone cold. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "About what?" "The beach house, Ethan. Why didn't you tell me you were already buying it?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I knew you'd make a big deal out of it. It's just a gift for my parents. A gift, I echoed incredulously. Ethan, a beach house is a major financial decision. We're supposed to be partners. Don't you think I deserve to be part of that conversation? Look, he said, his tone dismissive, I've got it under control. You don't need to worry about it. But I am worried, I pressed. What about our own plans, our future? Ethan's face hardened. This is our future, Amelia. My parents deserve this. They've worked hard all their lives. And what about my parents? I asked, feeling a surge of anger. Don't they deserve something too? He scoffed. Your parents, Amelia, be realistic. Your dad's a small-town lawyer and your mom's a teacher. They can't afford a beach house. His words hit me like a slap. That's not the point, Ethan. It's about fairness, about considering both sides of our family. There's nothing to consider. And he snapped, made my decision. End of discussion. As he stormed out of the kitchen, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about a beach house anymore. It was about respect, partnership, and the very foundation of our marriage. Later that day, I called my parents, desperate for a friendly voice. My mother, Laura, answered on the second ring. Amelia, honey, is everything all right? Her concern was palpable even through the phone. I took a deep breath. Mom, I don't know. Things with Ethan are complicated. Oh, sweetheart, she sighed. Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? Your father's grilling, and you know how he loves an audience. The thought of my father, Jeff, in his kiss-the-cook apron, flipping burgers and cracking jokes, brought a smile to my face. That sounds perfect, Mom. I'll be there. As I hung up, I caught sight of my reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman staring back at me looked tired, defeated. When had I become this person? When had I started accepting Ethan's decisions without question? That evening, as I sat in my parents' cozy backyard, the scent of grilled meat in the air and the sound of my father's laughter ringing out, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. This was what family was supposed to feel like, warm, supportive, loving. So, Pumpkin, my dad said, settling into the chair next to me, what's really going on? You've been quiet all night. I looked into his kind eyes, so different from Ethan's cold, calculating gaze, and felt something inside me break. The whole story came pouring out. The beach house, Ethan's dismissive attitude, my growing doubts about our marriage. As I finished, my father's face was a storm of emotions. Amelia, he said softly, taking my hand, you deserve so much better than this. You know that, right? I nodded, tears pricking at my eyes. I'm starting to realize that, Dad. I just don't know what to do next. My mother joined us, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. You stand up for yourself, honey. You remind Ethan that you're his wife, not his doormat. As I drove home that night, their words echoed in my mind. They were right. It was time to stand up for myself, to demand the respect and partnership I deserved. Little did I know the confrontation that awaited me would change everything. The day of Ethan's parents' 60th birthday celebration arrived, and with it, a sense of dread I couldn't shake. As we drove to the beach house, the silence between us was thick with unspoken tension. Remember, Ethan said as we pulled up to the sprawling oceanfront property, this is a surprise. Act excited. I nodded, swallowing the bitter taste in my mouth. The house was stunning, a modern masterpiece of glass and wood perched on the edge of the world. Under different circumstances, I might have been thrilled. Now it just felt like a monument to Ethan's betrayal. Margaret's face lit up as we led her and Robert, blindfolded, onto the deck. Oh, Ethan! She gasped as the blindfolds came off. It's magnificent! Happy birthday, Mom and Dad! Ethan beamed, basking in their praise. Welcome to your new beach house. I stood to the side, feeling like a ghost in my own life as Ethan gave his parents a tour. The house was even more impressive inside. Open-plan living areas, a gourmet kitchen, and breathtaking ocean views from every room. And here's the master suite, Ethan was saying as we reached the top floor. I had it designed just the way you like, Mom. Margaret clapped her hands in delight. Oh, it's perfect. Amelia, isn't this just wonderful? I forced a smile. It's beautiful, I managed to say. As Margaret and Robert explored their new domain, Ethan pulled me aside. See? He whispered. They love it. Aren't you glad I did this? I looked at him, really looked at him, and wondered when he had become this stranger. Ethan, can we talk? In private? He frowned but nodded, leading me to a small study off the main living area. As soon as the door closed behind us, I turned to face him. What's going on here, Ethan? You told me this was an investment for our future, but you're acting like it's solely for your parents. Ethan's face hardened. It is an investment in my family's happiness. And what about our family? I pressed. What about our future? He waved a dismissive hand. Don't be dramatic, Amelia. We'll use it too, of course. But when my parents aren't here. The casual way he said it, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, made something snap inside me. So we're just... what? Caretakers? Guests in our own investment? Look, Ethan said, his voice low and dangerous. I've worked hard for this. My parents deserve it. If you can't be happy for them, at least have the decency to pretend. Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. Robert poked his head in, his face flushed with excitement. Ethan, son, we need to discuss the boat slip. I was thinking. As Robert's voice faded, replaced by Ethan's eager agreement, I felt the last threads of my marriage unraveling. This wasn't a partnership. It wasn't even a relationship. It was a performance with Ethan as the star and me as a silent, smiling prop. The rest of the day passed in a blur of champagne toasts and effusive thank yous. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the pristine beach, I found myself alone on the deck, staring out at the endless horizon. Amelia? It was Laura, Ethan's mother, her voice soft with concern. Are you all right, dear? You've been awfully quiet today. I turned to her, seeing the genuine warmth in her eyes, and felt a rush of guilt. This wasn't her fault or Robert's. They didn't know the cost of this grand gesture. I'm fine, I lied, mustering a smile. Just a bit overwhelmed by all the excitement. Laura patted my hand. It is rather grand, isn't it? Ethan's always been so generous. You're lucky to have him, you know. As she walked away, her words echoed in my head. Lucky. Was I lucky? Or was I trapped in a gilded cage, watching my own life slip away? As we drove home that night, Ethan chattering excitedly about future plans for the beach house, I made a silent vow to myself. This wasn't over. I wouldn't let my life be dictated by Ethan's whims and his parents' wishes. Somehow, some way, I would reclaim my voice, my autonomy, and my future, with or without this man I had once thought I knew. The weeks following Ethan's parents' birthday celebration were a blur of forced smiles and tense silences. I tried to broach the subject of the beach house several times, but Ethan always found a way to deflect or change the subject. It wasn't until a sunny Saturday morning, as I was sorting through our mail, that the truth finally came to light. Ethan, I called out, my voice trembling slightly as I held up an official-looking envelope. Why are we getting property tax bills for the beach house? He appeared in the doorway, his face a mask of irritation. It's probably just a mistake. I'll take care of it. But as he reached for the envelope, I pulled it back. No, I think we need to talk about this. Now. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Fine. What do you want to know? Everything, I said, my resolve strengthening. I want to know why we're getting bills for a house that's supposed to be a gift for your parents. I want to know why our names are on the deed, and I want to know why you've been lying to me. For a moment, Ethan looked like he might try to lie again. Then something in his expression shifted. You really want to know? Fine. The beach house is in our names because it's easier that way. My parents get to use it whenever they want, but legally, it's ours. Ours? I repeated, incredulous. Ethan, you've made it clear that I have no say in anything regarding that house. How is it ours? He shrugged, his casualness infuriating. It's an investment, Amelia, for our future. My parents get to enjoy it now, and when they're gone, it'll be ours entirely. The coldness in his voice sent a chill down my spine. So we're just waiting for your parents to die? Is that it? Don't be so dramatic, Ethan scoffed. It's just good financial planning. My parents get to enjoy their golden years in style, and we get a valuable property in the long run. Everyone wins. I stared at him, truly seeing him for perhaps the first time. Everyone except me. You mean? And what about my parents? Don't they deserve to enjoy their retirement too? Ethan's face hardened. Your parents? Amelia, be realistic. They can barely afford their mortgage. They have no place in a luxury beach house. His words hit me like a physical blow. How dare you? I whispered, anger rising in my chest. My parents may not be as wealthy as yours, but they're good, hard-working people. They deserve respect. Respect doesn't pay for ocean views, Ethan sneered. Face it, Amelia, your family will never be on our level. The sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be. In that moment, something inside me shattered. The man standing before me wasn't the Ethan I thought I'd married. He was a stranger, cold and calculating, with no regard for my feelings or my family. "You're wrong," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "My parents may not have money, but they have something you and your family will never understand. Love, compassion, and genuine care for others." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Save the Hallmark speech, Amelia. This is the real world. Money talks, and everything else is just noise." As he turned to walk away, dismissing me and my concerns yet again, I felt a surge of determination. This wasn't over. I wouldn't let Ethan's arrogance and his parents' entitlement dictate the course of my life any longer. "Ethan," I called after him, my voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. "We need to talk about our future, all of it. The beach house, our finances, our relationship, everything." He paused at the door, looking back at me with a mixture of surprise and annoyance. "What's there to talk about? I've told you how things are going to be." I stood up straighter, meeting his gaze without flinching. "And I'm telling you that's not good enough. We're supposed to be partners, Ethan. Either we start acting like it or—" I left the sentence hanging, the unspoken threat clear in the air between us. Ethan's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face for the first time. "Or what, Amelia?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. As I looked at him, I realized I was at a crossroads. The next words out of my mouth would determine the course of our future, if we even had one. Taking a deep breath, I prepared to fight for the respect and partnership I deserved, no matter the cost. Months crawled by, each day a reminder of the growing chasm between Ethan and me. The beach house, once a symbol of our future, had become a millstone around my neck. We hadn't set foot in it since the birthday celebration, yet its presence loomed over our lives like a storm cloud. It was a crisp autumn morning when Ethan's phone buzzed with a message. "Mom and Dad want to spend the weekend at the beach house," he announced, not bothering to look up from his screen. "We need to drive them there on Friday and pick them up Sunday evening." I felt a familiar surge of resentment. "We? Ethan, I have plans with my parents this weekend. Remember?" He finally glanced up, his expression dismissive. "Cancel them. This is important." "My parents are important too," I countered, my voice rising. "Why can't your parents drive themselves?" Ethan sighed, as if explaining to a child. "They're not comfortable with the route yet. Besides, the house needs to be cleaned and stocked before they arrive." "And let me guess, that's my job too." His silence was answer enough. I closed my eyes, trying to calm the storm brewing inside me. When I opened them, I made a decision. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not canceling my plans. You can take care of your parents this weekend." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "What's gotten into you lately, Amelia? You used to be so accommodating." "Maybe I'm tired of accommodating everyone but myself," I shot back. The argument that followed was bitter and loud, ending with Ethan storming out of the house. I spent the weekend with my parents, trying to push aside the guilt and anger that warred within me. When I returned home Sunday evening, Ethan was waiting, his face a mask of cold fury. "Hope you enjoyed your little rebellion," he sneered. "My parents were very disappointed you couldn't be bothered to help." "I'm sure they survived without my famous pot roast," I replied, my tone matching his. "How was the beach?" "Wonderful," Ethan said, a smug smile spreading across his face. "In fact, Mom and Dad had a great idea. They want to start spending every other weekend there." "Isn't that great?" The bottom dropped out of my stomach. "Every other weekend, Ethan, that's not sustainable. We can't keep dropping everything to cater to your parents' whims." He waved a dismissive hand. "It's not a problem. We'll just need to adjust our schedule a bit." "Our schedule?" I echoed incredulously. "What about my life, Ethan? My job? My family?" "Your job is flexible," he countered. "And your family, well, they don't exactly need a luxury beach house, do they?" The casual cruelty of his words left me breathless. "So that's it? Your parents get free run of the place and mine don't even get to visit?" Ethan's face hardened. "Look, if your parents want to visit, they can. When mine aren't using it, of course." "Of course," I repeated bitterly. "And when exactly will that be?" He shrugged. "We'll figure it out. Maybe in the off-season." Something inside me snapped. "This isn't fair, Ethan. It's not right. That house was supposed to be for us, for our future, not a full-time resort for your parents." "Life isn't fair, Amelia," Ethan said coldly. "The sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be." As I looked at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face, I realized we had reached a crossroads. The Ethan I thought I knew, the man I had married, was gone. In his place stood someone I barely recognized, someone whose values and priorities were fundamentally at odds with my own. In that moment, I made a decision. This couldn't continue. Something had to change, and if Ethan wasn't willing to meet me halfway, I would have to take matters into my own hands. "You're right, Ethan," I said quietly, a new resolve stealing my voice. "Life isn't fair, but that doesn't mean we have to accept unfairness in our own home, in our own marriage." His eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" I took a deep breath, knowing that my next words would alter the course of our lives forever. "I'm saying that if this is how it's going to be, if this is what our marriage has become, then maybe we need to reevaluate everything, including whether we should stay married at all." The shock on Ethan's face would have been satisfying if it wasn't so heartbreaking. But as the words hung in the air between us, I knew I had finally found my voice. And I wasn't going to be silenced again. The tension in our house had reached a breaking point. Ethan and I moved around each other like wary strangers, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy between us. I knew something had to give, but I wasn't prepared for the bombshell that was about to drop. It was a rainy Tuesday when I stumbled across the papers. Ethan had left his briefcase open on the kitchen table, a rookie mistake for someone usually so secretive. As I moved to close it, a document caught my eye. My heart stopped as I read the title, Retirement Property Agreement. With trembling hands, I pulled out the papers and began to read. The more I saw, the sicker I felt. This wasn't just about the beach house anymore. Ethan had been planning our entire retirement around his parents' needs and wants, with barely a thought for me or my family. I was still standing there, papers clutched in my hands, when Ethan walked in. His face paled when he saw what I was holding. "Amelia," he started, his voice cautious. "I can explain." "Explain?" I echoed, my voice rising. "Explain how you've been planning our entire future without even consulting me. Explain how this retirement property is nothing more than a glorified guest house for your parents." Ethan's expression hardened. "You're overreacting. This is a sound financial decision." "Financial decision?" I was nearly shouting now. "What about our decision? Our life together? When did I stop being your partner and become just another asset to manage?" He tried to reach for the papers, but I pulled them away. "You don't understand the big picture," he said, his tone patronizing. "My parents need—" Your parents, I cut him off. "What about my parents, Ethan? What about me? When do we factor into your grand plans?" For a moment, Ethan looked genuinely confused. "But this is for us, for our future." "No," I said, my voice breaking. "This is for you and your parents. I'm just along for the ride, aren't I?" I watched as realization dawned on his face, followed quickly by anger. "You're being ungrateful," he snapped. "Do you know how many women would kill for this kind of security?" His words hit me like a physical blow. "Security?" I whispered. "Is that what you think this is? Trapping me in a life I never agreed to?" Ethan's face softened slightly, and for a moment, I saw a glimpse of the man I thought I'd married. "Amelia, please, let's talk about this rationally. I'm sure we can come to an agreement." But as I looked at him, I realized something fundamental had shifted. The trust, the partnership I thought we had, it was all an illusion. Ethan had been making unilateral decisions about our life together for years, and I had been too blind to see it. "No," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "No more agreements. No more compromises. I want equal say in our future, Ethan. Real equality, not just lip service." His expression hardened again. "And if I say no?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. I took a deep breath, knowing my next words could change everything. "Then I guess we have nothing left to discuss," I said quietly. Ethan's eyes widened, a flicker of fear crossing his face. "What are you saying, Amelia?" I straightened my shoulders, meeting his gaze head-on. "I'm saying that I deserve better than this. Better than being an afterthought in my own marriage. And if you can't see that, if you can't treat me as an equal partner, then maybe this marriage isn't worth saving." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan stared at me, a mix of shock and anger on his face. I could see the wheels turning in his head, trying to find a way to regain control of the situation. But I wasn't backing down. Not this time. As we stood there in our kitchen, the life we had built together crumbling around us, I realized we had reached a point of no return. Whatever happened next would define not just our marriage, but the rest of our lives. And for the first time in years, I was ready to fight for what I deserved. The tension in our house had reached a fever pitch. Ethan and I barely spoke, the silence between us thick with unspoken accusations and resentment. I knew we were hurtling towards a breaking point, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when Ethan stormed into the living room, his face flushed with anger. "I just got off the phone with my parents," he spat. "They're furious. Apparently, you told them they couldn't use the beach house next weekend because your parents were visiting?" I stood my ground, heart pounding. "That's right. I thought it was time my family got to enjoy the house too." Ethan's laugh was cold and humorless. "Your family? Amelia, be realistic. Your parents wouldn't know what to do with a place like that. It'd be like letting children play with fine china." His words hit me like a physical blow. "How dare you?" I whispered, anger rising in my chest. "My parents are good, hard-working people. They deserve respect." "Respect doesn't pay for ocean views," Ethan sneered. "Face it, Amelia, your family will never be on our level. The sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be." Something inside me snapped. Years of pent-up frustration and hurt came pouring out. "Our level? What level is that, Ethan? The level where we treat people like commodities? Where we value money over family, over love?" Ethan's face hardened. "Don't be naive. This is the real world, Amelia. Money talks and everything else is just noise." "Then I guess I'm just noise to you," I said, my voice trembling, because I thought our marriage was about more than just financial transactions. For a moment, Ethan's mask slipped, and I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "You knew what you were signing up for when you married me," he said coldly. "Did I?" I countered. "Because I thought I was marrying a partner, not a dictator. I thought we were building a life together, not just serving your parents' whims." Ethan's laugh was bitter. "My parents' whims? They've given us everything, Amelia. That beach house is our future." "No," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "That beach house is your parents' playground, and we're just the caretakers. When exactly were you planning on us actually using it, Ethan? When your parents are dead?" The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan stared at me, shock and anger warring on his face. "You're being hysterical," he finally said. "This conversation is over." But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. "You're right, this conversation is over. In fact, I think this whole charade is over." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" I took a deep breath, knowing my next words would change everything. "I'm saying I want a divorce, Ethan. I can't live like this anymore. I won't." The shock on his face would have been satisfying if it wasn't so heartbreaking. "You can't be serious," he sputtered. "Think about what you're throwing away, the lifestyle, the security." "The oppression, the constant belittling of me and my family?" I cut him off. "No, Ethan. I've thought about this long and hard. I deserve better. I deserve a partner who values me, who sees me as an equal." Ethan's face twisted with anger. "Fine," he spat. "If that's what you want, then go. But don't come crawling back when you realize what you've given up. That beach house? You'll never set foot in it again. Your parents certainly won't." His words were meant to hurt, to make me second-guess my decision, but instead they only strengthened my resolve. "Keep your beach house," I said quietly. "I'd rather have my dignity." As I turned to walk away, Ethan called after me, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. "You'll regret this, Amelia. You're nothing without me." I paused at the doorway, looking back at the man I had once loved. "No, Ethan," I said, my voice steady. "I'm everything without you, and it's time I remembered that." With those words, I walked out of the room and out of my old life. The road ahead was uncertain, scary even. But for the first time in years, I felt free. I was ready to face whatever came next, on my own terms. The day I signed the final divorce papers, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It had been a grueling 6 months, but I was finally free. As I walked out of the lawyer's office, I took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air, feeling like I could conquer the world. My first stop was the bank, With steady hands, I withdrew my name from the joint account that had been paying the mortgage on Ethan's precious beach house. As I informed the teller of my decision, I couldn't help but smile, imagining Ethan's face when he realized what I'd done. I was halfway home when my phone rang. It was my father, Jeff. "Pumpkin," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "I've got news. Remember that job opening I told you about at the firm? It's yours if you want it." I nearly swerved off the road. "Dad, are you serious? Vice president?" His chuckle warmed my heart. "You've earned it, Amelia. You're the smartest, most capable person I know. It's time the world saw that too." Tears pricked my eyes as I thanked him, my mind already racing with possibilities. This was my chance to rebuild, to create a life on my own terms. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I threw myself into my new role at the firm, relishing the challenges and responsibilities. For the first time in years, I felt valued, respected, and heard. It was during a particularly successful negotiation that an idea struck me. I excused myself from the meeting and made a quick phone call to a realtor I knew. 2 months later, I stood on the porch of a modest but charming beach cottage, keys in hand. The sound of the waves and the salty breeze brought a smile to my face as I turned to my parents. "Mom, Dad," I said, my voice thick with emotion, "welcome to your new vacation home." The look of shock and joy on their faces was priceless. My mother, Laura, burst into tears while my father stood speechless for once in his life. "Amelia," Mom finally managed, "we can't accept this. It's too much." I shook my head, feeling a surge of love and pride. "It's not too much. It's exactly what you deserve. A place to relax, to enjoy your retirement, a place where you're always welcome." As we explored the cottage together, laughing and making plans, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. This was what family was supposed to feel like. It was a week later when I received the call from Ethan. His voice was a mix of panic and anger. "Amelia, what have you done?" he demanded. "The bank called about the beach house mortgage. They're threatening foreclosure." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "I stopped paying for a house I was never allowed to use, Ethan, just like I said I would." But what about my parents, their retirement?" He sounded lost, confused. "That was never our responsibility, Ethan," I said firmly. "It's time for you to face the consequences of your choices." As I hung up the phone, I felt a twinge of sadness for the man I had once loved, but it was overshadowed by a sense of justice and closure. That evening, as I sat on the porch of my parents' new beach cottage, watching the sun set over the ocean, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The pain, the struggles, the moments of doubt, they had all led to this. I thought about Ethan, probably scrambling to save his parents' beach house, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. Part of me hoped he'd learn from this, become a better person, but that wasn't my concern anymore. My phone buzzed with a message from my dad. "Proud of you, Pumpkin. You've always been our shining star." Tears blurred my vision as I typed back, "Love you both. Can't wait for our first family barbecue here." As I looked out at the horizon, the future stretching endlessly before me, I felt a sense of excitement and possibility I hadn't experienced in years. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my self-worth. And no beach house, no matter how luxurious, could compare to that. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. As darkness fell, I made a silent promise to myself. From now on, I would never settle for less than I deserved. I would build a life filled with love, respect, and genuine partnership. And as the first stars appeared in the twilight sky, I knew that this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, my beginning, and I couldn't wait to see where it would lead.